This is my presentation, which when Jameson and I were talking about what I was going to present about, he said, well, why don't you talk about one of your projects? I said, actually, I would rather give me something difficult that would be useful for legal hackers. And he said, so how about addressing law firm culture? And so I said, sure, I can do a presentation on that. This was my working title for the presentation, which is Why People Hate Lawyers, That's You. And sort of thinking about law firm culture and law in society and how people generally feel about it. So they say if you want to give a good presentation, you have to know your audience. So this is sort of a yearly test that I do. I did this last year. The organization we're all here for today is called Legal Hackers, I believe. So I want to pretend that we're US Customs and Immigration. And actually, everybody stand up. All right, now if you are asked to self-identify as either a lawyer or a hacker, you have to answer this question. You have 3 seconds to answer. I want all the hackers to put both hands in the air. Oh, that is so much better than last year. Thank you, hackers. Welcome. It's so great to see you. Please sit down. Lawyers, stay standing. Lawyers, stand. I still think there's too many lawyers, so next year we got to do better. But, so this is for the lawyers. These are the terms and conditions of my presentation. As soon as you accept them, you can sit down. And last year someone asked if it could be amended immediately, so I was like, can you amend that? No amendments allowed. All right, so I'm obviously from Canada, even though I'm wearing a Detroit Tiger baseball hat, which is a long, complicated story that I don't have time to get into. You may be able to have guessed that I'm from Canada by my strange sense of humor and the way that I pronounce some words. I'm just going to call out Eileen and Joe. Joanne, are you around somewhere? Yeah. So we've got a small contingent again here this year. Please say hi to them. And I have to leave, unfortunately, right after the presentation. But they are here and representing Toronto in Canada. All right, so on to the presentation, a little bit about me. These are some of the companies that I've been involved with in some capacity. So an internet service provider, largest domain name registrar in the world, security company, wireless company, some legal tech stuff as well. And I'm also just going to take a quick pause here to say I'm working with a company that sponsored the event today. It's a company called Wing. It's launching next week. I have 10 beta SIM cards, so if you're an American with a cell phone and want to help test the service, you can grab one of these from Phil or Jameson. Right. The other thing you need to know about me, there's this article when we founded Legal Hackers Toronto in Motherboard magazine, the device technology subject matter, and I'm not a lawyer. So they quoted this in the article, so it's going to be very obvious probably that I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to talk about changing law firm culture. So I was reading a book, as I tend to do, and this is the autobiography, or the biography on an old entertainer called W.C. Fields. And I came across this word that I didn't know. I was unfamiliar with it, and it's the word pedophagory. And you can see here the New York Public Library did a whole session on, or some sort of program on it. And so I looked it up, as you would, a pedophogger. And what is a pedophogger? And it's an inferior legal practitioner, especially one who deals with petty cases or employs dubious practices. So I'd like to say congratulations to the legal industry for having their own special word for asshole. All right, so here, how are we going to change law firm culture? How are we going to make the world a better place? So in my businesses, when I want to change the outcome, I change the input. So law firms and their associated culture are filled with lawyers. And today, those lawyers have to go to law schools. So if we want to change law firm culture, we need to change what we teach in law school. And so if we're serious about changing, we should, and you're involved in any law schools, you probably went to one, they probably ask you for money. You should think about maybe guiding the curriculum and changing where you can, engaging with that system, because until we fix the institutions that create lawyers, the system is not going to change at all. So I think that's sort of one first thing that we could do to change the culture at law firms. The other thing we could do to change the culture at law firms is change the students. So right now, today, law schools attract certain students. Students with certain motivations, students from certain backgrounds, and I think we'd be well served to attract different students. Not saying anything against the current students, but maybe some students with different life experiences, different life motivations. So again, we're sort of changing the input to the law firm, diversifying it from what it's traditionally been. The third component that we can change in the input side is the law, the government. The laws that are written, the laws, how they're enforced, having reasonable, empathetic law enforcement as opposed to whatever you call what you guys do in the States with a lot of law enforcement that is, it seems to a Canadian unreasonable and certainly not very empathetic. So as lawyers, you can help change the law and make it better. And so we're changing the ecosystem that lawyers interoperate and then hopefully changing law firm culture. We could change law enforcement as well. I think I covered that kind of in my last slide, my comments in the last slide, but changing how policing is done is pretty important to changing how, because lawyers often have to respond to law enforcement and its related complications. Yes, and this is the slide about introducing more empathy. So what if we measured our success as lawyers not by billable hours or net contribution to the firm's profitability, but by how both sides rated the outcome of the deal? So what if that was the way we measured success in law firms? To me, that would be really interesting. It probably sounds really crazy to some lawyers and sounds really inspiring to others, I hope. And again, I'm just putting ideas out as to how we can change law firm culture, and changing the objectives and the motivations is definitely something that could help law firm culture. Right. So yeah, this is a slide about winning. So we want to, again, sort of create a situation where, as a lawyer, you have a fiduciary responsibility to represent your client. But you maybe have a societal responsibility to consider the opposing party's needs and concerns, creating win-win situations. In my businesses, I end up dealing with a lot of lawyers, and sometimes great situations, sometimes challenging situations. I can tell you without a doubt that I have always been most successful when both sides are winning something in the resolution. If you want to go on forever, then if you want to spend a lot of money on litigation, then hold on to your position firmly. If you want to move on and do something more interesting than argue, consider the other side's position and create some sort of win-win situation. This slide is about how we bill for legal services. It says, "I hope this is the only bill you will receive today." It's a picture of Bill Murray, which you may have noticed is a theme of the presentation. Right, so how we bill. How do we bill for legal services today? We bill by the hour, we bill by the value of the contract. There's all sorts of different models. And in my legal technology companies, I talk to a lot of lawyers and law firms, and there's this reluctance to use technology almost in that they're afraid of what it's going to do to law and to how they make money. And, as a nerd, for me, I look at the technology and see enablement. I see a lawyer going from serving 50 clients a year to 500 by removing all the pedophagy and bureaucracy and all those things that keep you from helping more people. And access to justice is something that's really important, I think, to society, but certainly to me. And using technology to increase access to justice is, for me, a good idea. So, in summary, we want to change law firm culture. I would say we should change the inputs, we should change the ecosystem, and change the incentives and rewards. And then, hopefully, we would end up in a better place. But if not, you can always just move to Canada and, where everything's, well, at least better. With that, I will say thank you very much. My email address is the letter S, @salon.com. If you want to get in touch, I'm happy to talk about anything, really. I'm super lonely, not. But again, I wish I could be staying longer, and I can't. So thank you for your time, and have a great conference.